Hello, let's take a look at the next 10 poems from Prince Koresada's poetry contest, starting with Shiratama no aki no kono ha ni yadoreru to Mitsuru wa tsuyu no hakaru nari keri. Pearls upon the leaves of the autumn trees have found lodging. At the sight, the dewdrops I'll measure. This is another poem focused on the way that the thick dews of autumn could change the appearance of plants, in this case the autumn leaves. Calling dewdrops pearls, shiratama, was a relatively common conceit in waka, so much so that if you come across this word in a poem, it's far more likely to be being used in this figurative sense than it is to refer to the jewels themselves. Yuki kaeri, koko mo kashiko mo kari nareya. Aki kuru koto ni neoba naku ran. Going back and forth, hither and thither are the geese. That autumn's coming is in their cries, it seems. Back to Geese again, with a poem that conveys a real sense of motion in its first two lines. Hearing this, I get a strong image of the geese swooping about the skies as they arrive back in Japan for the winter, and the poet staring up, watching them, and hearing the season's arrival as they honk at each other. Aki no yo ni kare to naku ne o kiku toki wa wagami no ue to omoi koso sure. On an autumn night, when the geese are crying, I do hear, upon me sad thoughts weigh all the more. This poem is a complete contrast to the previous one. The sense of motion is gone, and instead we have the poem alone at night, listening to the crying from the night skies. The poem has the familiar wordplay between naku, cry like a bird, and weep, which is why I decided upon sad thoughts for the final line. An additional possibility, though, is that at the time the poem was written, the final omoi would have been pronounced omohi, and fi was homophonous with the word for fire, fi, or hi as it is now. Fire was equated with passion, so the final line also suggests burning with love. Given the autumnal context, though, the most likely implication of this is that the poet may still love their other half, but that person no longer returns their affections, if they ever did. So the overall mood is still one of sadness. Ima yori wa iza matsu kage ni tachiyoramu. Aki no momiji wa kaze sasoi keri. From now it is that long-awaited shade does seem to rise. The autumn scarlet leaves beckon in the breeze. This poem contains another standard piece of waka wordplay, the word matsu. This is both the verb matsu, meaning wait, and also the noun matsu, meaning pine tree. It's one of the few pieces of wordplay that you can replicate in English translation, as the word pine in English is both a noun for the tree and a verb. I did think about incorporating this wordplay into the translation here and having long pined for shade, but decided in the end that this was a somewhat clumsy expression. The reason matsu is used in the original is to establish a semantic link with the later mention of autumn leaves, momiji, because both are botanical references, but also with the final verb, as someone who has been long awaited is likely to be beckoned in when they arrive. The initial word, therefore, creates a dual echo at the end of the poem. Aki no yo no tsuki no hikari wa kiyo keredo, shito no kokoro no kuma wa terasazu. On an autumn night, the moon's light is so clear, yet upon her heart's depths it fails to shine. Now, this is a great poem, following a quite familiar waka pattern of making a statement about an aspect of the natural world and then relating it to a facet of human experience or human nature. The bright, fine moon is, of course, the primary celestial marker of autumn, but even its light cannot reveal what the poet's lover is thinking. I'm taking a bit of license by interpreting the poem that way. It could be a general statement about human nature. Moonlight does not penetrate the depths of the human heart. But I think it's justified, as hito, person, is frequently used as a euphemism for lady or lover, and so it's not too much of a stretch. Yudasuki kakete no koso koishikere, akitoshi nareba hito. Cords of mulberry cloth hung are all the more dear. When the autumn comes, she... Now, this is another interesting case. When dealing with texts as old as this one, it's over 1,000 years old, remember, you will inevitably get gaps where time has preyed on the manuscripts, and so we just don't know what they actually originally said. This is one such case, and the final 5 syllables of this poem have not survived the centuries. Fortunately, with this poem, I don't think it matters that much, as long as you let your imagination do the work of filling in the blank in the final line. What is it that the lady does, or people do? It's up to you, as the poem's audience, to decide. Irihisasu yamatozo miyuru momijima no aki no kotogoto terasu narikeri. The setting sun shines on the mountains, and it seems the scarlet leaves, all of autumn, do illuminate. This poem is another one of those which captures a single moment in time with almost photographic clarity. The scarlet light of the setting sun shines suddenly on a mountainside covered with scarlet autumn leaves, with the quality of the evening light intensifying the colours of the trees, making it seem that the entirety of what autumn means is displayed before the poet's gaze in that single moment. Hisakata no tsuki no katsura mo aki wa nao momiji suraba ya terimasaru ran. On the eternal moon, the silver trees too in autumn change their hues. Is that why you shine so bright? This is one of the poems from the contest which was chosen to be included in an imperial anthology, in this case Kokinshu, and so was much better known than many of the others in later periods. The poem refers to a specific tree, the katsura, which, a bit unhelpfully, is also called a katsura in English, so unless you're familiar with it, it's a bit opaque. The katsura is an upright deciduous tree which can grow up to 30 metres tall, and its leaves are green when mature, but scarlet in the autumn. Scholarship disagrees, though, about whether the trees which were believed to grow on the moon were actually these trees, or whether they were another mystical plant which just happened to share the same name, hence why I've chosen silver trees in the translation. The poem certainly doesn't seem to be implying that the leaves of the katsura on the moon turn red. If anything, the implication is that they turn a brighter white, which the poet wonders is the reason for the brightness of the moon in the autumn. Akihagi no eda mo towo ni nari yuku wa shiratsuyu omoku okeba narikeri. The autumn bush clover's branches bend down more and more, when silver dewdrops' weight does fall upon them. Another evocative word for dew in this poem, shiratsuyu, literally white dew. The word emphasises the all-covering nature of dewfall in autumn, where it was so heavy it could change the colour of the plants onto which it fell. The plant here is the bush clover, hagi, which was one of those plants considered most emblematic of autumn. Watch my video on Awaka Autumn to find out more about it. Hitori shimo, aki ni wa awanaku ni, yo no naka no, kanashiki koto wo mote nayamu ran. Alone in autumn without a meeting, this mundane world's sorrows pain me all the more. This poem contains another key piece of diction, yononaka, which I've translated as mundane world. Yononaka referred to the everyday world of human desires and affairs, and stood in implicit contrast to the world of religious devotion to which everyone was supposed to aspire. By complaining about the sorrows of the mundane world, the poet is suggesting that he's ready to give up all of those in order to become a monk and seek that serenity. In some ways, one could almost read it as a threat or a plea to a hard-hearted lady. You won't see me, he says, so I may as well go off and become a monk. Whether he would or not is of course conjecture. Pre-modern Japanese literature is full of men saying that what they really want to do is take the tonsure, but who never quite seem to get around to it. That's all for these poems. More to come. If you have any questions about anything I've said here, feel free to pop them in the comments or drop me a line via email. See you next time.